With the rise of advertisements being everywhere on everything, subscription fees, increasing subscription fees, licensing issues, the question of if digital purchases are yours to keep forever, PlayStation recently announced that they will no longer be selling new games on physical discs.
You want to know what they're doing now? No more discs after January 2028. Oh!
And I don't think DVDs will be very far behind. There's no time better than right now to start collecting DVDs and Blu-ray discs. Places like Best Buy have already stopped selling physical media. Walmart has a constantly shrinking movie selection. There's been a massive shift towards digital purchases and streaming in recent years, which is also getting more expensive. Services like Netflix, Disney Plus, and HBO Max are constantly raising their prices. However, DVDs, on the other hand, are getting cheaper. DVDs in thrift stores, flea markets, pawn shops, and garage sales can be found for as little as $1 to $2 a piece. Recently at garage sales, I have even seen some instances of boxes of DVDs, all in cases, for 50 cents per DVD. In fact, the DVDs I have been going through in this video were all purchased at a garage sale for 50 cents a piece. Buying DVDs in lots off places like eBay can also be a good way to get cheap DVDs, especially if you aren't worried about the cases and buy the disc loose, which you can then store in giant DVD binders or something similar to take up less space as opposed to being kept in the cases. Now, DVDs are lower resolution than 4K or standard HD streaming, that is true. However, most modern TVs and DVD Blu-ray players have built-in upscaling features, making your DVDs appear in a much higher quality than you may remember. The disc version of the PS5 is a good example of a device that can massively upscale DVDs in quality. Blu-ray discs are higher quality than DVDs. They require a Blu-ray disc player instead of just a standard DVD player, but they're actually noticeably better in quality than standard 1080p streaming. Although Blu-rays also play at 1080p as well, they have much higher bit rates. They do not have any streaming artifacts such as blocky pixelation. Heavy action scenes with lots of moving parts also tend to look incredibly sharp on Blu-ray when compared to streaming. You're also getting better audio quality, as it is less compressed than streaming as well. There's also 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray discs, and they are the top of the line when it comes to picture and audio quality, the cream of the crop, per se. They are a bit more expensive than standard Blu-rays and require a 4K Blu-ray player. A standard Blu-ray copy is usually included when you buy a new 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray disc, and there's usually a digital 4K copy to be claimed as well. In fact, most new standard Blu-ray discs and some DVDs come with a digital copy when purchased. These do expire, though. Now, since I feel like it might be mentioned in the comments, I want to talk about disc rot. What is disc rot? It is when oxygen, moisture, or pollutants break through the protective lacquer seal and makes contact with the aluminum or silver layer, causing it to oxidize and lose reflectivity, rendering the disc unreadable. It is also not something you should worry about. The fear of disc rot is heavily exaggerated. When stored correctly, your DVDs will be fine and could potentially still be played 100 years from now. One study done by the Library of Congress showed that after 10 years, only about 4% of commercial discs had signs of failure caused by rot, estimating around 70% would easily remain playable for the next century if properly cared for. When buying used DVDs, you should still always check the condition of the disc first for scratches, smudges, make sure the disc is in the case. It's the right disc in the case. If you have found disc rot on a disc or had a collection that became unreadable after being stored, please share it in the comments. Which leads us to backing up your DVDs and Blu-rays. It is very easy nowadays to back up a digital copy of your DVD to your computer or an external hard drive. There are many tutorials on YouTube that show how to use programs like MakeMKV and Handbrake to get an MP4 or MKV file copy from your physical disc, which can then be played on your computer or any device that supports MP4 or MKV file playback. One example would be moving the files to an external hard drive, then plug that into a Roku Ultra, and then go to the Roku Media Player app to play your digital copies. You can also take your backed up copies and use a server site like Plex or Jellyfin, allowing you to access your video files from any device connected to your network. There's many YouTube tutorials on how to set this up as well, if it sounds like something you might be interested in. Once you buy a physical DVD, it cannot be taken from you. You do not have to pay again to watch it a couple months later. It cannot be censored or switched out with another version after you've already paid for it, and an ad will not play every 5 minutes. With the heavy shift towards digital media and streaming, buying a physical copy of a new movie might not always be an option.